Alrighty everybody, so today we're going to work with color matching. So you should have your landscape. Can you see that? I drew it really light. You should have your landscape drawn on your watercolor paper. And again, this is a landscape that had a background, foreground, and midground. So I have these cute little sheep, because my dad owns a sheep ranch, so I was going to paint this and give it to him. So here I have my sheep in the foreground, I got these trees in the midground, and then I got the mountains in the sky for the background. Okay, so now my goal is I'm going to mix colors that match my printed picture. And I like to print also a black and white version because it helps me see the values better. Okay, let's talk a little bit about color temperature really fast. So here we have warm colors and cool colors. Warm colors are mostly like reds and yellows and oranges and sometimes like yellow greens. It's colors that we associate with warmth. Colors we associate with like maybe fire or heat or something over here. And then we have our cool colors, which usually consist of like purple, blue, green, colors we associate with cold, like water and maybe cold grass or something like that. So when you're looking at the your picture, if there's any colors that are kind of like dirty or dull, how you get a color to be more dull is you mix opposite colors from each other. So for example, like here, the sheep, it's not a completely white sheep. It kind of has like a dingy dull color. So I wouldn't paint this like yellow, or I wouldn't paint this completely white. I'd maybe take some yellow and touch a tiny touch of purple and kind of dull that color. If you have any really pristine bright colors, make sure you're mixing them within the same color temperature. So like for example up here, the sky is a really nice light blue. I would take blue and I would make sure not to mix any of the opposite color temperature with that blue. And also, if you have a lighter color, remember just to add more water to your pigment. So the first thing I'm going to do is a wash. Remember, washes are like the base color. They are the lightest value. Oh my gosh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the sky, because I feel like the sky is the lightest color here. And I'm going to start with that sky, and I'm going to make sure I get the right color by testing it out here first. So I'm going to try some blue, and I'm going to water it down and water it down and water it down and water it down. So I barely have any blue, and it's mostly just... That's pretty close. That's pretty good. So notice I checked it here first and then I put it on here. So I'm going to do a wet wash, meaning I'm going to wet down the sky area. And I'm going to get it all wet first, and then I'm going to add some pigment to it. I'm doing a wet wash for the sky because I feel like the sky is okay to be kind of loose and watery, more organic. And now I'm adding some pigment. So I'm going to add lots of water and little pigment. And so I got some here, and then I'm going to kind of bring it down a little bit. Push it down, push it down. Maybe switch over to a different thing. Okay, so I don't even know if you can see what I did because it's pretty light, but I started a little bit darker here and then I just pushed it out down here and just had it ever so tinted blue. It's mostly water down at the bottom. So now I'm going to look at my picture and I'm going to decide, oops, I got some water right there. I'm going to decide what is the next brightest color or lightest color. And I think maybe the sheep. So the thing what I need to do with the sheep is I need to figure out what is the base coat for the sheep. It's kind of like a pinkish, yellowish, dingy color. It's going to be a lot harder than the sky. The sky was just one pigment. It made it easy. So, I'm going to kind of mix some colors here. Okay, so my yellow, if you can barely even see it, is a little bit too yellow, so I'm going to add just a tiny, 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 tiny touch of blue to dull it down. Okay. Almost there. So notice that I keep checking first before I just apply it to my paper. I keep doing swatches and checking it first. So I kind of like the color I'm getting, but I'm gonna have to dilute it a lot more than this. But I like that color. I just don't like the saturation of it. So let's add lots of water. That's pretty good. So now I'm going to come over here to my sheep. And I'm going to paint my sheep this base coat that I created. A little too much. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint all the sheep the same color except for, well, even him. Yeah, I'm going to just paint them all the same color. And honestly, this mountain is kind of the same color as the sheep, just a little bit darker. So I might just use the same color, just less water for the mountain. And if you see here, there's a little, a tiny little lake that's the same color as the sky. So I'm gonna take the same pigment I used for the sky, and I'm going to add it there. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at the grass, because the grass takes a big section of this. The problem though is I don't wanna start with a green, because there's kind of this dead yellowish color that pops up every once in a while, which is brighter than the green. So I'm gonna try and get that yellow color. So I'm gonna use this mustard, over here, I'm looking at it, that's way too bright of a color. Let's get in there. So I like this color to match the darkness there. So I'm going to, or the grass there, I don't even know what I said, the darkness there. So I'm gonna mix up a bunch of that color, but I'm gonna dilute it with water. I'm gonna paint the grass all that same color. Okay, again, I don't know if you can even see that, because you see it's just very, very light. It's just the lightest tones. Okay, so my battery died, but I went and got another battery, so let's get going. So now I have my extremely light washes. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna add some of the darker tones and some of the darker colors and the details. I'm gonna start in the background and move my way up to the foreground. That way we're overlapping the colors and it will hopefully make it less likely to blend. Okay, so my memory card got full while I was painting that, and I don't know how far it got until it decided to not work anymore. But I'm hoping you get the general idea. Notice that I kept checking my swatches. I started really light and I started building up. I'm nowhere close to being done, but this is a good start right here. Okay, so this is what you're going to be working on this week. Let me know if you have any questions, and love you guys. See you later.